The couple left the royal family after months of racist attacks from British tabloids without any support from the palace. It was so bad the Duchess said she was at the breaking point.
I went to one of the most senior people just to get help. And that, you know, I share this because there are so many people who are afraid to voice that they need help. And I know personally how hard it is to not just voice it, but when you voice it, to be told no. Oof. And so I went to Human Resources.
Hold up. You're saying Buckingham Palace has HR? How long has that been around? Because you would think someone in Human Resources might have stepped in to tell Henry VIII that chopping off your wife's head could be interpreted as a hostile work environment. Ariel and Meghan have a lot in common. I mean, who can forget that cruel headline in the Daily Mail? Princess Ariel's hairstyle is forked up. It was clear that the Duchess didn't know what she was signing up for.
You were marrying a 1,200-year-old institution. You're marrying the monarchy. What did you think it was going to be like?
Well, I didn't do any research about what that would mean.
You didn't do any research?
No. I've never looked up my husband online.
What? Let me introduce this thing called Google, okay? Over there, I think it's called Lori. It's full of useful information. For instance, turns out your husband knew Princess Di. That might have been a hint that this was going to be a rough gig. Also, while you're Googling, you might want to try the combo Andrew, Island, and Epstein. It'll give you an idea what the royal family is okay with.
When we were in Canada, I had 3 conversations with my grandmother and 2 conversations with my father. Before he stopped taking my calls.
He's ducking his son's calls. It always hurts when your father won't listen to you, especially when he has these ears. Really a waste. But the couple says their real in-law problem centered around their son Archie, especially when the palace wanted to deny him a royal title and the accompanying security detail.
Welcome to Sussex Ambassador Channel, the voice of reason in a world of royal chaos. If you haven't yet, do subscribe and join our critical discourse. Today we peel back the velvet curtain and take a hard look at the British monarchy, an institution that has long been mired in controversy and criticism. In the spotlight today is a topic that has been whispered about in hushed tones, yet seldom openly discussed: the royal family's long-standing practice of racism. It's a claim that has been levelled against the monarchy for decades, yet has found renewed vigour in recent years. For centuries, the monarchy has hidden behind a facade of tradition and respectability, carefully curating an image that is palatable to the masses. Yet, beneath this veneer of respectability, a toxic environment has been allowed to fester. The questionable ethics of the institution have been laid bare for the world to see, with allegations of racism and mistreatment causing many to question the very relevance of the monarchy in the 21st century. Consider the way the royal family has treated Prince Harry and his wife, Meghan Markle. The couple's departure from royal duties sent shockwaves around the world and brought the racism within the monarchy into sharp focus. Meghan, a biracial woman, was subjected to a level of scrutiny and vitriol that her white counterparts were not. This differential treatment, many believe, is a clear sign of the institutional racism that plagues the monarchy. The royal family's long-standing practice of racism is not an isolated issue, but rather a symptom of a larger problem. It is indicative of the toxic environment that has been allowed to persist within the monarchy, an environment that is detrimental not only to those within the institution, but also to society as a whole. As we delve deeper into this issue, we invite you to question the narratives that have been presented to us and to critically examine the institution that is the British monarchy. It's high time the world saw the royal family for what it truly is, an institution steeped in racism and toxicity. One of the most powerful voices that called out the royal family's racism is none other than Stephen Colbert. When it comes to using comedy as a platform for social commentary, few do it better than Stephen Colbert. Known for his razor-sharp wit and biting sarcasm, Colbert has been a beacon of truth in a world often clouded by PR spins and diplomatic niceties. And when it came to the royal family's apparent racism, he did not hold back. Colbert, with his unique blend of humour and insight, managed to expose the inherent racism of the royal family in a way that was both hilarious and thought-provoking. He used his platform to call out the royal family's long-standing practice of racism, particularly their mistreatment of Harry and Meghan, especially Meghan, who is biracial. In one of his most memorable takedowns, Colbert, with a smirk on his face and a twinkle in his eye, quipped about the royal family's antiquated views on race, saying, "It's 2025, not 1825. His humour, while entertaining, was also a stark reminder of the archaic beliefs still held by some in the royal family. He also did not shy away from highlighting the double standards applied to Meghan compared to other royal family members. He cleverly pointed out the hypocrisy of how Meghan was vilified for the same behaviours that other royals were praised for. But perhaps the most powerful aspect of Colbert's critique was the empathy he showed towards Harry and Meghan. He recognised their struggle, lauded their bravery, and stood by them in their fight against racism. He made it clear that their mistreatment was not just an issue of royal protocol, but a clear sign of racism. Colbert's hilarious takedown was not just about making people laugh, it was about making people think. It was about challenging the status quo and calling out injustice. It was about standing up for what's right, even when it's against an institution as powerful as the royal family. Stephen Colbert, with his wit and humour, managed to expose the ugly underbelly of the royal family. When it comes to the royal family's racism, one cannot ignore the mistreatment of Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle, a biracial woman, an accomplished actress, and a philanthropist, walked into the royal family with grace and poise. However, beneath the glitz and glamour of royal life, she was subjected to an ordeal that was anything but fairy tale-like. The royal family, an institution that has stood for centuries, prides itself on tradition and decorum. Yet it's these very traditions that have come under scrutiny for their lack of inclusivity and diversity. Meghan's entry into this family should have been a beacon of progress, a signal of the monarchy adapting to our multicultural world. Instead, it became a stark reminder of the biases and prejudices that are deeply rooted within the institution. From the onset, Meghan was treated differently. The media coverage of her was tinged with racism, with coded language and racial undertones that were hard to ignore. Her every move was scrutinised, every action criticised, in a way that was distinctly different from how other royals were treated. And it wasn't just the media. Behind palace walls, Meghan was subjected to microaggressions and outright racism. The royal family's silence in the face of the media's racialised criticism of Meghan was deafening, revealing an institutional unwillingness to challenge racist narratives. It's important to remember that this isn't just about Meghan. It's about every person of colour who has been made to feel othered, who has been treated as less than simply because of their race. Meghan's ordeal shines a spotlight on the racism within the royal family and its failure to protect one of its own from racial prejudice. It's a startling reminder of the ways in which institutions, even those as grand as the royal family, can perpetuate harmful stereotypes and biases. It's not enough to simply acknowledge the royal family's racism. We need to criticise it, question it, dissect it. Stephen Colbert's takedown of the royal family is a start, a humorous yet poignant critique of an institution that needs to evolve. The mistreatment of Meghan Markle was not an isolated incident, but a reflection of an institution steeped in tradition and unwilling to change. It's a sobering reminder that racism is not just the domain of the overtly prejudiced, but can also be found in the hallowed halls of the monarchy. The mistreatment of Meghan Markle sheds light on the royal family's entrenched racism. The time has come for the royal family to not only acknowledge its shortcomings, but to actively work towards changing them. To do otherwise would be to perpetuate a cycle of prejudice and discrimination that has no place in our modern world. Harry and Meghan's decision to step back from their royal duties is a clear indication of the toxic environment within the royal family. This wasn't a decision taken lightly. It was a bold move, a desperate act of self-preservation for Harry and Meghan, who had been subjected to relentless scrutiny and hostility. It's important to understand that this wasn't just about escaping the prying eyes of the public or the relentless media. The couple's departure was a direct response to the institutional racism and mistreatment they encountered within the royal family itself. Meghan, who had been so warmly welcomed initially, soon found herself the target of thinly veiled bigotry and double standards. A biracial, independent woman, Meghan didn't fit the typical mould of a royal. She was seen as an outsider, a threat to the establishment, and the royal family's treatment of her made this abundantly clear. She was expected to endure in silence, to smile for the cameras while her character was being assassinated behind closed doors. But Harry and Meghan chose not to suffer in silence. They chose to step back, to protect their family and their mental health. This decision sent shockwaves through the British monarchy. It drew back the curtain on the royal family, revealing an institution steeped in archaic traditions and outdated beliefs. Their departure now has left an indelible mark on the monarchy's image, exposing the hypocrisy and toxicity that lies beneath the surface. It has sparked global conversations about racism, mental health, and the relevance of the monarchy in the 21st century. Harry and Meghan's escape is not just about them. Their decision to step back is a powerful statement against the oppressive and discriminatory practices within the royal family. It's a call for change, a demand for the monarchy to evolve and reflect the diverse society it represents. In conclusion, Harry and Meghan's escape is a powerful statement against the royal family's toxicity. Their brave stance against the institution's racism and mistreatment is a beacon of hope for those who have been silenced and marginalized. It's a clear message to the monarchy. Change must come. As we've seen, the royal family's racism is a grave issue that needs addressing. This isn't a problem we can brush under the carpet, nor should we. It's a conversation we must keep alive, a narrative we must continue to challenge. The injustice faced by Harry and Meghan, especially Meghan, is a stark reminder of the underlying prejudice that exists within the institution. It's not just about one couple, it's about what this represents on a larger scale. The royal family's actions set a precedent, and it's a precedent we certainly don't want to encourage. Stephen Colbert's humorous yet poignant takedown is a start, but it's not enough. We need to keep the momentum going, to continue pushing for change. It's not just about exposing the royal family's racism, but about demanding better, demanding change. Thank you for joining us today. Remember to subscribe, like and share. Together we can challenge the status quo and demand better. Goodbye from Sussex Ambassador.